Having spent the summer learning to sail at my local yacht club, and lessons nearing their natural end, my sights had shifted from the longer-term goal of purchasing a keel boat to the more readily achievable goal of hunting out a sailing dinghy on TradeMe that would keep me afloat over the next few months. The TradeMe marketplace is awash with sailing dinghies, most better repurposed as garden ornaments, though nevertheless marketed by the vendors as seaworthy but in need of a little restoration by the right set of skilled hands. After much research flicking through pages of lasers, minstrels, sunbursts and otherwise unknown boats, I came across the little-known, but in its day, very popular, OK Dinghy. It was for sale in Katikati, a very convenient 30 to 40 minute drive from my home in the Mount. With the help of Grant, we picked up the dinghy, stropped it to the top of my boss's trailer and hauled her home, all the while praying that the oversized cargo wouldn't pull loose from the strops and go flying. Having purchased the boat, which appeared to be in fine form, the next similar challenge was finding a trailer wide enough to accommodate her. Like boat owners, trailer owners are fond of selling rust buckets at as near new prices on TradeMe and Facebook. I managed to secure a trailer, however, for the princely sum of $250. By this time, the inaugural sailing of the dinghy was in the pipeline with Jim and Vero, who were planning a trip from Napier to Ohope in early March. This date quickly arrived, and Grant and I spent Saturday preparing the trailer for its new purpose. We removed the boat rollers off the trailer, ground back rust, and primed and painted the trailer, and laid down new plywood. It was a mammoth effort with several setbacks, but we achieved the total conversion of the trailer in a solid 10 hours of work, save for a brief break to get McDonald's and to do a bit of grocery shopping. Apparently children need food. The next day, now a day behind schedule, I headed out to Ohope. Jim was all loaded up with his laser, which he'd restored in the latter part of 2018. I think this was to be its second outing. After a quick coffee, and a pause to wave at their friends flying overhead in an old DC-3, we headed down to the harbour and rigged up. I was surprised that I was able to recall all I needed to get the boat set up, and she sailed without a hitch. Aside from a good half dozen blows to the head as I forgot to duck sufficiently when tacking, it was a real success. The boat handled well, sailed smoothly, and was able to keep up with the laser. Really, only limited by the skill of its skipper. After this shakedown sail, I had a new list of things I needed to obtain. Boots for the otherwise frictionless cockpit floor, a spray jacket, and a VHF radio. I smashed out the mandatory VHF radio operator's course in record time and was set to head out my boat once more, this time for my maiden solo sail. I decided that the core skills of sailing were well practiced by this point, and my destination would be Matakana Island. This was a destination I had long wanted to set foot on since moving to the Mount. An upwind sail from the launching point made for a slightly clumsy start as I found myself in irons, but with a helpful shunt from some burly gents swimming in the harbour, I was able to avoid the rocks and find the wind. It was a good sail to the island, taking around 45 minutes. I had to tack a few times to bring myself safely in line with the land and reduce my speed so that I wouldn't crash onto shore. A slightly premature dismount from the boat nevertheless saw me safely arrive at my destination. Matakana Island is a beautiful spot and one I will surely sail to on many more occasions. The sail home, downwind, was more of a challenge, made difficult by the strong current of the outgoing tide. About 75% of the way back to Sulphur Point, I executed my first capsize. It was a slow process to bring the boat upright, but it was achievable. I sailed further, tacking and jibing to avoid getting sucked into the shipping lane. I capsized again, this time inverting the boat. Once more I was able to right it, but this time it was slower and heavier, and I was certainly starting to get exhausted by my endeavours. I sailed further, making it 90% of the way to the launching area out from the yacht club. I capsized again. I spent a lot of effort righting the boat, only for it to roll over to the port side. The current pushing us further to the rocks, I tried to swim the nose of the boat around so that she pointed windward, and rise in irons, reducing the risk of a recapsize. The boat just wouldn't turn. By this stage, someone swimming nearby noticed the struggle I was having, wrestling with the boat, and came to lend a hand. They issued me with advice which I had been trying to execute for some time by now. We worked hard though, and eventually righted the boat, now riding low in the water. A second person had come by this stage and helped us swim the righted boat into shore. Once in the shallows, we wrestled further with the vessel, which seemed to have trebled in weight since launching. With a third helper now in the mix, we shunted and pulled the boat up to the shoreline. Inspection of the buoyancy chambers revealed that she had filled with water. Both the aft tank and the port and starboard tanks were full. By this time, my sailing tutor had come by. I pointed out to him that this was clearly his fault for not running the next set of advanced classes, which had been cancelled the week before. Not that anybody told me. I'm not sure that he picked up on my sense of humour though. Once I was alone with the boat, having said thank you to the people who had assisted me, one of the old boys came down from the club. He said that they were trying to figure out if they needed to come down and lend a hand, though he thought it looked like I knew what I was doing, it's just that it wasn't working. This lifted the spirits a bit, particularly as I explained the issue of the buoyancy tanks. They say owning a boat is 90% maintenance and 10% sailing, and that certainly seems to be the case for me for the moment. I will replace the old cork bungs with new plastic screw-in ones, and I'll also remove the portholes and reseal these. Then we'll see how she sails.
Moment of truth. If it doesn't fit, it's Shane's measuring. Wait, Shane's cutting, not my measuring.
I mean, it will fit, but how do we get it in there?
That's an excellent question.